Question 536. An appraisal is considered accurate only. A. As of the date it is completed. B. During the year in which it is completed. C. Until a more qualified appraiser completes his analysis. D. Until the beginning of the next fiscal year. Correct answer is A. As of the date it is completed. An appraisal is an opinion of value based on the market conditions and information available to the appraiser at a specific point in time. Market conditions in real estate are dynamic and can change due to various economic, social, and political factors. Therefore, the appraiser's conclusion of value is only considered accurate for the date of the appraisal. Market values can fluctuate significantly within a year. An appraisal completed in January might not accurately reflect the market in December of the same year. While a more experienced or specialized appraiser might offer a different opinion of value, the accuracy of the original appraisal is still tied to the specific date it was performed, based on the information available then. A subsequent appraisal reflects the market conditions at its completion date. Question 537. The contract clause that typically sets a maximum amount an injured party can recover in case of a breach of that contract is called A. Rescission. B. Liquidated damages. C. Specific performance. D. Compensatory damages. Correct answer is B. Liquidated damages. Rescission is the cancellation of a contract, returning the parties to their pre-contractual positions. It doesn't involve setting a limit on damages for a breach. Specific performance is a legal remedy where a court orders the breaching party to fulfill the terms of the contract, rather than paying monetary damages. It's about enforcing the contract, not limiting the amount of recovery. Compensatory damages aim to compensate the injured party for the actual losses they suffered as a result of the breach. While they are a form of monetary recovery, they are determined based on the actual harm caused, not a preset maximum amount in the contract itself. Liquidated damages clause specifies in advance the amount of money one party will pay to the other in the event of a breach of the contract. It's an attempt by the parties to agree on a fair and reasonable compensation for potential losses that might be difficult to calculate precisely. The purpose is to provide certainty and avoid costly litigation over damage amounts. Question 538. A house with a roof that slopes on all four sides is called A. Hip roof. B. Gambrel roof. C. Cornerstone roof. D. Tudor roof. Correct answer is A. Hip roof. A gambrel roof has two slopes on each side, with a steeper slope at the bottom and a gentler slope at the top. Cornerstone roof isn't a term for a standard roof type. A cornerstone is a specific stone laid at the foundation of a building. Tudor roofs are often half-timbered, with exposed beams and a steeply pitched gable roof. They might have some diagonal elements, but not necessarily sloping on all four sides. Hip roof is the most common type of roof that slopes downward on all four sides from a central ridge. It comes to a peak at the top and doesn't have vertical walls at the ends. Question 539. According to the rules of community property, the consent of both spouses must be obtained for the following regarding such property, except A. Selling the property. B. Leasing the property for over a year. C. Listing the property on the MLS. D. Encumbering the property with a mortgage. Correct answer is C. Listing the property on the MLS. Community property laws, which are in effect in California and other states, generally require the consent of both spouses for significant transactions involving community real property. These significant transactions typically involve the transfer or encumbrance of the ownership interest itself. Selling community real property is a transfer of ownership and unequivocally requires the written consent of both spouses under community property laws. In California, and many other community property states, leasing community real property for a term exceeding 1 year is considered a significant encumbrance and requires the consent of both spouses. This is to protect the long-term interests in the property. Placing a mortgage on community real property creates a lien against the title and requires the consent of both spouses. This is because it affects both spouses' interests in the asset and could lead to its loss through foreclosure. Listing a property for sale or rent on the Multiple Listing Service, MLS, is a preliminary step to marketing the property. While it signifies an intent to sell or lease, it does not, in itself, transfer or encumber the title. Therefore, the consent of both spouses is generally not legally required just to list the property. However, as a practical matter, obtaining both spouses' agreement to list is highly advisable to ensure cooperation and a smooth transaction later. Question 540. A 4-year first trust loan for $28,000 is arranged by a real estate broker. The maximum commission he can charge under the law is A. $2,000, B. $2,800, C. $4,000, D. There is no such commission limit, the broker can charge whatever he thinks is fair. Correct answer is B. $2,800. In California, real estate brokers who arrange loans secured by real property are subject to specific commission limits under the Real Property Loan Law, California Business and Professions Code Section 10240 et seq. These limits are based on the loan term and the loan amount. For first trust loans of 3 years or more, the maximum commission is 10% of the loan amount if the loan is under $30,000. For loans of less than 3 years, the maximum commission is 5%. Since this is a 4-year loan for $28,000, both fitting the first category, the maximum commission is indeed 10% of the loan amount. $28,000 times 0.10 equals $2,800. For loans of less than 3 years, the maximum commission is 5%. Question 541. Which is not a requirement for obtaining an easement by prescription? A. Open and notorious use of the property, B. Exclusive use of the property, C. Continual use for 5 years or more, D. Use hostile to the true owner. Correct answer is B. Exclusive use of the property. To establish an easement by prescription, the following elements generally must be met in California, and many other jurisdictions. A. Open and notorious use. The use must be visible and obvious to the owner of the property, such that they would have knowledge of it if they were reasonably attentive. It cannot be hidden or secretive. C. Continual use for 5 years or more. The use must be continuous and uninterrupted for the statutory period, which is 5 years in California. Continual doesn't necessarily mean constant daily use, but rather use that occurs with reasonable regularity based on the nature of the use. D. Use hostile to the true owner. The use must be adverse to the owner's rights and without their permission. It must be under a claim of right. Exclusive use of the property is not a requirement for an easement by prescription. The person claiming the easement doesn't need to be the only one using that portion of the property. Other people, including the property owner, might also use the area, as long as the claimant's use meets the other requirements: open, notorious, continuous, and hostile. The focus is on the claimant's adverse use, not on preventing anyone else from using the property. Therefore, exclusive use is the element that is not typically required to establish an easement by prescription. Question 542. For appraisers, the present worth of benefits in the future is equal to A. Value, B. Assessed tax basis, C. Utility, D. Price. Correct answer is A. Value. This is the fundamental principle of the income capitalization approach to appraisal. This approach values a property based on the present value of its anticipated future income stream. The core idea is that a property's worth today is directly related to the benefits, income, it is expected to generate over its remaining economic life, discounted back to the present. Question 543. Although regularly used in other states, the warranty deed is rarely utilized in California because a. Title insurance, which provides recourse against the title company, has taken the place of the warranty deed and its recourse against the grantor. B. Damages are higher under a grant deed than with a warranty deed. C. With its two implied covenants, the grant deed was designed to supplant the warranty deed. D. Laws are more favorable to the grant deed because its implied covenants run with the land, while the warranty deed's covenants attach only to the grantee. Correct answer is A. Title insurance, which provides recourse against the title company, has taken the place of the warranty deed and its recourse against the grantor. A warranty deed contains covenants, promises, by the grantor, seller, to the grantee, buyer, regarding the quality of the title. If a title defect arises after the sale, the buyer can sue the grantor for damages. However, pursuing legal action against a previous owner can be time-consuming, costly, and the grantor might be difficult to find or have limited assets. In California, the real estate industry heavily relies on title insurance. Title insurance is a policy that protects the buyer, and sometimes the lender, against losses arising from defects in the title that were not discovered during the title search. If a title issue emerges, the title insurance company is obligated to defend the title or compensate the insured for the loss, up to the policy limits. This provides a more direct and reliable avenue of recourse compared to suing a previous grantor under a warranty deed. Question 544. The depreciable life of residential property is A. 10 years, B. 15 years, C. 27.5 years, D. 50 years. Correct answer is C. 27.5 years. The IRS uses a modified accelerated cost recovery system, MACRS, to determine depreciation for tax purposes. Residential rental property is generally categorized in a property class with a 27.5-year recovery period. For commercial buildings, it is 39 years. This means you can deduct a portion of the property's cost over this timeframe on your tax returns. Question 545. What transfers less than an entire leasehold, with the original lessee being primarily liable for the rental agreement? A. Sublease. B. Sandwich lease. C. Residential lease. D. Assignment. Correct answer is A. Sublease. Residential lease simply refers to a lease for residential property and doesn't define the extent of the transferred interest or liability. In an assignment, the original lessee transfers their entire remaining leasehold interest to a new tenant, the assignee. With a valid assignment, the assignee typically becomes directly liable to the landlord for the rent and other lease obligations. The original lessee is usually released from further liability, unless the lease agreement states otherwise. A sandwich lease arises when a lessee sublets the property and their interest lies between the primary landlord and the sublessee. While it involves a sublease, the term sandwich lease describes the original lessee's position, not the transfer itself. In a sublease, the original lessee, tenant, grants a portion of their leasehold interest to a new tenant, the sublessee, for a period shorter than the remaining term of the original lease. Crucially, the original lessee remains primarily liable to the landlord for the rent and all other obligations under the original lease agreement. The sublessee pays rent to the original lessee, who then pays the landlord. Essentially, a sandwich lease is a sublease with the goal of the original tenant making money as a middleman. All sandwich leases are subleases, but not all subleases are sandwich leases.